Hey, so this was just a random video idea I had at 5 in the morning, and I figured, well, I might as well do it. And so I did. And the reason I got the idea to do this video was because recently I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers post reactions to The Lion King and The Lion King 2. But what I noticed in particular was that when they do reactions to The Lion King 2, there would usually be like harsh criticism over Simba's decision to exile Kovu from the Pride. And if you're watching this video and don't know what The Lion King or The Lion King 2 is about, basically, the first Lion King was about a young cub named Simba, who was the crown prince of what's known as the Pride Lands. He had an uncle named Scar who wanted to become king, and he killed his brother Mufasa over it. Scar leads Simba to believe that his attempts at roaring are what caused the wildebeest to suddenly stampede and ultimately kill his father, and tells him to run away and never return. Simba did as he was told, and didn't return until years later when he was an adult to fight Scar for his rival place as king. The second movie takes place during his time as ruler, and he still deals with trauma over what his uncle did to him and his family, resulting in him being overprotective of his daughter Kiara. He also had to deal with the stress of knowing that some lionesses who were still loyal to his uncle, though banished, still lived nearby. And it didn't help when he found Kiara playing with an outsider cub named Kovu. And it didn't help that years later, although that same cub who's now much older ends up saving his daughter's life during a fire, he still doesn't trust him. And of course, us as the viewers can see why, since we hear what Zira has told her son all these years, that his sole purpose is to avenge Scar and take his place in the Pride Lands as king. So with that in mind, he goes to the Pride Lands. His siblings end up purposely starting a fire, and he pretends to save Princess Kiara. So right from then, we see that he doesn't have good intentions. And then the fact that after he allows Kovu to stay in his pride for a while, the following morning once Kovu sees that Simba's alone at the watering hole, he does plan to attack him and kill him. And had it not been for Kiara showing up at that moment, her dad would have been killed. After having Kovu living in the Pride Lands for a while, and seeing how well he and Kiara got along, Simba does make an effort to show that he trusts him. First, he allows him to sleep inside the den instead of outside as usual. And secondly, by telling him he wants to talk to him. But unfortunately, that's when Kovu's mother and her pride appear to attack them, and it all goes downhill from there, with Zira making it seem as though Kovu was a part in the ambush. It also didn't help that once Kovu returned to Pride Rock, he had a scar across his eye identical to Scar's, reaffirming Simba's belief that he is just like Scar, and also reminding him of the nightmare he had the night that he allowed Kovu to stay in the Pride Lands. Now us as the audience, we know that Kovu has changed, we know he's not the same lion as he was before. But there's a point that I see many YouTubers seem to overlook in a way, is the fact that we're the audience, we know things aren't what they used to be. But looking at it from Simba's perspective, we don't know any of that. We just know that he saved our daughter from a fire, spends a lot of time with her, and does seem to have a good heart. But that doesn't change the fact that he was raised in an environment that was toxic. He allowed this lion, who he knew grew up in a vengeful family, stay in his pride and get close to his daughter. And the fact that at the same time that you decide to go take a walk with him, his family appears out of nowhere, tells him he did a good job at bringing you there, and then they attack you. In his eyes, Kovu did help with the ambush, so of course he had no choice but to exile him. He has to not only think of the safety of his family, but also for his entire kingdom. He knows the devastation and starvation that was caused under Scar's reign before, and he just barely got his kingdom back and is starting to get things back to normal. He does not want history to repeat itself. To Kovu's credit, he was going to tell Kiara the truth as to why he saved her and why he has to join Simba's pride. And when Simba suggested that they talk, Kovu should have insisted on telling the truth to both of them in that moment. When Kovu was exiled, Kiara was of course angry, and she told Simba that Kovu loved her and he was never trying to use her to get to him. But what she didn't know was that 1, that's such a cliche thing to say, and 2, that was exactly Kovu's original plan. The only difference was that he never counted on Kiara being the way that she was, and ended up not just falling in love with her, but also enjoying living in Simba's pride. And also the fact that Zira did tell Simba that Kovu was following his Scar's paw prints, so of course he would grow up with that mentality. Simba was just doing what he thought was best for his family and the Pride Lands, with the information that he had, and also trying to follow Mufasa's paw prints, and trying to be a great king like he was. And when Kiara said that he would never be Mufasa, it was painful but also true. Because Simba should never try to be Mufasa. He should be his own version of a king. And in the end, everything worked out, with the outsiders excluding Zira being allowed back into the Pride Lands and being accepted into Simba's pride, as well as the union between Kovu and Kiara, which means that Kovu will one day be king, as both Scar and Zira wanted, but not in the way that they expected. He would become a king by marriage, not murder. So that's the end for this video, and depending on which one grabs my attention first, one of the images that are on screen right now could be the next random video I do.